All right, welcome to another edition of International Soccer Break. I'm here with Rahi and Bick, and that could mean we're only talking about one thing. What's that, boys?
British meat pies?
Yes.
You're close, but way off. That's a little Indian football. And some big news coming out of India where the AIFF president, Kalyan Chaubey, has indicated that potentially India could go after PIOs or OCIs. He's named 24 specifically that he had in mind. We don't know who those 24 are. Guys, what's your initial thoughts about this?
I'm just sad I missed the boat, man. You know what I mean? If I was only a little bit younger, I could have been on that list. No, I don't.
That's what I think. He did this just to go after me with my OCI. You know what I mean? Like he knows he's seen my talent out there, and he's like, I got to get this guy. I just revealing to you guys, I'm part of that 24 list. Just letting you guys know. So.
Oh, well done.
Yeah.
Sadly, I've already announced my retirement based on years of ankle injuries and knee issues and general lack of ability. But yeah, listen, I'm my first reaction was it's nice to see them listen to us, right? I mean, we discussed this a couple of months ago, and all of a sudden, after all of these years, they changed their mind. I mean, more than a coincidence, I think.
Yeah.
I think it's great news. I think it's definitely a step in the right direction. They are doing a lot of things right, I think. Getting Arsene Wenger involved, someone who knows a thing or two about youth development. Then this measure, I think it's great. I think it's only going to be good for Indian football.
Yeah, couldn't have come any sooner. I mean, it's a great step if it's real. I mean, we've heard a little bit of talk before. Yeah. That's the real question, right?
So that's what I wanted to focus on briefly. How real do we think this is? Because we all know the Indian bureaucracy and government well, and there's already indications of we're going to try to make this happen, and the 12-month rule is still being floated out there. So how real do we think this is?
Well, I think Arsene Wenger coming into India a little not so long ago. I think these kind of things make a difference, right? Yeah. Big personalities, and now all of a sudden they've lit a fire, right? So I do think that it may be suddenly happening. You just get the feeling, right? Indian soccer, there's a little bit more of a buzz. I think it's real, but I'm an optimist.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, the bureaucracy exists, but it exists for other things. I think if at the end of the day, if they want to make a decision, it comes from the top, then they can act very quickly and they can act decisively as well. So I don't think that that's going to be as much of an issue. Also, the other thing I was thinking about was in the past, if you had one or two foreign players and India was still way off the mark, there's really no point. Like, you can have Cristiano Ronaldo in like a poor international team. Maybe he'll make a massive difference, but I don't know if he's going to be the reason between a team qualifying for the World Cup or not. Or maybe that's not even the best example, but there was no player of that ability. But now if you're getting closer to it, and the only difference is if we had a couple of these guys, this would make all the difference in the world, then you act on it. And maybe it is getting more real given the recent performances.
Yeah. So I thought what we do now is, let's say that this is real moving forward. So who is each of your dream players from the past that if this particular rule was still out there where India could go after Indian origin players without putting them through, the gauntlet, who would you guys have liked to be on the Indian national team?
Ooh, I like this question a lot, actually. And they have to be Indian, right? We couldn't choose Cristiano or Leo, right? They have to be Indian.
You can't. No, that makes no sense. What kind of, you can't just be like, we're gonna take Zidane and Ronaldo and have them.
I don't know, man. If you feed them,
have them live in Calcutta for like a year and then
Okay. So this is an interesting one. I've often thought about this question, so I'm glad you bring it up. Because in my dreams, I've imagined what could have happened had this player actually played for India. And his name, you may remember him from the 2000s. His name was Vikash Dorasu, an incredible midfielder who played for France. It was on those Lyon teams that kept winning back-to-back titles. He was an incredible midfielder. Never really got into the French team because, there was a gentleman named Zinedine Zidane who played a little ahead of him. So he never quite got on the field. But was an incredible midfielder, could have made all the difference, especially in that position, right? To have a player in that central midfield role for India could have changed the fortunes for this team for the 2000s. He's most well known, unfortunately, he went to the 2006 World Cup where France did so well, and then he made a documentary about the team and how they did. Really angered Domenech, the manager, really angered the French Federation. But he was true to his Indian roots, Every Indian deep down believes they are a Bollywood star, Bollywood director, Bollywood producer. So, that's, I think, that's what showed me that deep down he really is Indian at heart. But he's mine, Vikash Dorasi. Do you remember him, guys?
Yes, I do very well. I remember the documentary as well.
You watched that?
Wow. Yeah, I watched the documentary. It was fascinating. He was the team's videographer essentially, even though he was on the roster. So
I think that team must. Have you seen Patrice Evra's recent videos doing Bollywood dances?
Yes, I have actually.
So I think that there's a lot of Bollywood connections from that French team.
There's a lot of Indian influences. All right, Bick, who you got?
So because I thought Rahi was going to go for Michael Chopra, I thought I'd go a bit left field. And this is someone who I wasn't really aware of until too long ago. He is Jimmy Carter, not the US president, not to be confused with him.
Okay.
This is a guy who, until recently, no one knew was a British Asian player. He was the first British Asian player. And obviously in the UK, Asian means South Asian usually. His dad is from Lucknow, a guy called Maurice Carter, Anglo-Indian, migrated to the UK, married Jimmy Carter's English mom, and really encouraged him to play football. Now, he played for Crystal Palace and QPR, both in London. Didn't play a single league game for them. He was released by Palace quite early, but he was instrumental in Millwall winning the championship in 1988, the only time that they've been promoted to the then First Division, now the Premier League. He's a superstar for them. Millwall is obviously my local club. He was bought by Kenny Dalglish to play for Liverpool, then played for Arsenal, and ended his career at Millwall. So, pretty decent player. Never had a chance of playing for England. He played with some good English players like Teddy Sheringham. And I think he didn't have a chance of playing for England. He would have made a difference to India, even though India back then were not very good. And I just love the idea of like a guy called Jimmy Carter playing for India.
Sounds like Johnny Walker or like one of the Bollywood guys. So
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So that's my first selection. I did go for two.
Wow, what an overachiever! He's got a second one too.
Yeah. Typical good Indian boy. So this is a slightly personal connection. Is a girl called Tanvi Hans. Now I actually know her through a family friend. I've hung out with her a bit. She played for Tottenham in England in 2013 to 15. She was also the poster girl for the Bend It Like Beckham musical in London. So if you saw ads for the Bend It Like Beckham musical, it was her on it. And she worked with the cast to help them with their football skills. Now, she actually moved back to India, and she wrote about the whole dual nationality thing, the fact that she's a British passport holder. And even though she grew up in India, she wasn't able to play for India. And she did actually play in India after that. She played in the Women's League. Then I think she's still playing. So those are my two selections.
Wow, a bit of a connection. That's pretty impressive.
Exactly. Yeah. I know those are places, man.
You brought up also India's greatest contribution to football in the past 30 years in some ways, which is Bend It Like Beckham. Yeah. Not quite an Indian film, but Indian element.
Indian origin?
Indian origin. Yes,
that's exactly what we're talking about. Yeah.
Yes, that's a very good point.
No, those are some good choices, guys. So I like those. Those are.
Aren't you impressed? Choices. Ask us. Aren't you impressed with what we came up with?
I'm very impressed. We should do this segment more often. I'd love to also hear from the viewers out there in the comment section. Go ahead and put down. We'd love to hear from you if you have players out there that you would have loved to get who are either PIOs or OCIs or even NRIs for that matter.
That'd be great. I mean, Michael Chopra, of course, we remember, Neil Taylor, but I'd love to hear more because I'm sure there's tons out there that could have made all the difference.
I mean, obviously a guy like Neil Taylor or something of that caliber would have made an incredible difference. But would he have played for India over Wales? I don't know. We can ask Neil Taylor. Someone give him a call and see if he would have done it. So All right. Well, we'll finish there, but we got the big Asian Cup coming up. We'll come to you obviously as we get closer, as Igor Stimac releases his roster and we get closer to the actual tournament. We'll bring you all the coverage of that, and I think everyone's excited for that. For those celebrating Christmas in India, Merry Christmas to you all, and yeah, Chuck the India.